got involved with Litchfield Jazz Festival and Jazz Camp almost at the same time. It started when I attended the Jamie Aebersold camp as a kid and had gone out in the professional world, done a bunch of different gigs, a lot of tours and stuff. At some point, Jamie Aebersold asked me to teach at his camp. So I taught the Jamie Aebersold Summer Jazz Camp for probably about 6 or 7 years, from like 91 or something through about 97, 98, something like that. And at which point, Vita Muir of the Litchfield Jazz Camp had met me when I was touring with Art Farmer. And something, we had talked, when we met, we talked about education a little bit, just what are you doing? Nice to meet you, Ba, you sound good, Ba, what are you into, et cetera, et cetera. Then we got into discussion education, and she called me later, the next year, for another project called the Connecticut Jazz Spectacular, which is an education-oriented thing in Danbury. And I'd worked for her in that situation. That went pretty well. So then a few months later, when she needed someone for the Litchfield Jazz Camp, which is connected to the Litchfield Jazz Festival, they were pretty much, right next to each other. One of the great features of the camp, besides everything that we teach, the details of what we teach at the camp, one of the great things is that there's this jazz festival that the students have a stage where they can play in the jazz festival, and they get a ticket so they can also watch the artists. So it's part of the educational experience. We have artists coming in through the weeks in the camp anyway. We have special guests like Dave Liebman's been there, and Jimmy Heath, and a lot of good people in addition to all the other things that happen there. But the festival is a unique opportunity because it's 3 days of intensive, constant performances, and so the kids get that. And in addition to the incredible faculty that we have at the camp, the students also get these world-class, jazz performances that we have in the fest itself, and that's part of what they participate in. But the camp was in need of a director in this particular year. I believe it was 1998 when Vita Muir approached me and said, "Hey, we think you did well in the spectacular. Why don't you come and give a shot?" And at that time, it was a 1-week camp. And it was a day camp only. I think we didn't even live there. We just taught during the day and stayed in a hotel or whatever. So it was a very small operation. Maybe there were 40, 50 kids, something like that. It was a small number of kids. And then we started the next year as a residential camp. And so it started to expand. And now we're up to 5 weeks and about 500 kids or so. So it's a long, serious undertaking, and from a perspective of the logistics and everything. And so it's much more work, and my experience with Jamie's camp was a huge help in helping me to organize what happened at our camp, and then helping me to deal with how we establish our policies and procedures. I spent a lot of time and energy figuring all that stuff out, but Jamie's camp was a big inspiration and a huge help. So it's been a great process. The festival itself, I actually don't have that much connection with the festival in terms of running it. Because I run the camp and my kids are involved and et cetera, we're very closely knit. But I don't have a programming or a professional function in the festival itself, other than to provide, to make sure the camp aspect of the festival is well executed. Well, we've had them as young as 8 or 9, not 8. We've had them as young as 9 or 10, I should say, and the oldest one has been 70X. 70-something. So we've had several mature folks. The bulk of our population is teenagers, although every year we have a number of adults, and we're looking to get more adults actually. But it turns out that our constituency is mainly the young folks, and that seems to work out very well so far. Well, the first thing is the very basics. How to listen, which is the main thing that determines how you sound more than anything else, is what you listen to. And so jazz is big music. It's a big inclusive form, and that's one of the things that makes it great. And that also, though, creates certain challenges with learning how to do it. So the first thing you have to do is learn how to listen, what to listen for. And part of it is the style, and part of it is the emotion. And that's something that you pick up, those things you pick up on. But then you have to learn how to be specific about, as you learn to play the music, you have to learn to be specific about certain elements. And so one of the things we teach them at Jazz Camp is what those specific basic elements are. The first one is sound. first thing you have to deal with as an instrumentalist or vocalist is what sound is, what the sound of an instrument or your voice is, and how do you get to it. So then the next big thing, to my thinking, is rhythm. And so if we teach the students how to listen for sound and rhythm, and if you get those two really going, you've got the foundation upon which to add all the other elements. The next big set of elements is the melody harmony thing, which includes scales, chords, and that whole world. And so a lot of jazz education, contemporary jazz education is generally based on scales and chords. And we focus on sound and rhythm kind of primarily, and then scales and chords come with that as a natural critical foundational element. We put those three together at the core then of what you're listening for and what you're practicing. And then we get into the next levels of things. We get into the importance of the blues feeling, which is huge. We get into all the nuance, phrasing, articulation, creative things like scoops and bends and those kinds of things, depending on what instrument you're playing. And we also address, of course, the skill of improvisation, which is its own world. And that interacts with the sound and rhythm and melody harmony naturally. So we cover all those things as far as musical elements. Those are our core things. And then we get into other creative and expansive possibilities. You can get into ethnic things. You can get into odd meter. You can get into unusual, extended things. But our main focus is the core, because we have mostly a younger group of folks at our camp. And so the focus is mostly on the fundamentals. And we do a sight reading as well. You know, we hope that when they come out of camp, they have a set of skills that then translates to their other school experiences and makes them realize, oh, wow, not only is my camp experience really valuable, or not only is jazz really valuable to study as a form, but also my camp experience really helped me in school, etc. So we think about that. And along those lines, then it's the whole extra dimension, which is of what we look to teach, which is our main goal at the camp is to create or to help people find themselves, and so to be a part of the process of creating good, strong people. That really is our main goal. Besides good musicians and all that, we know we don't have illusions of creating the next 300 or 400 Charlie Parkers or Wynton Marsalises or whatever, or Josh Redmonds or Dexter Gordons or Ella Fitzgeralds. You know, if we can get a few of those, great. You know, but our real goal is to get into help the person get into themselves and find their voice, and through that finding and through that expression, up their whole game. You know, like for me, I definitely gained as a kid, and this again translates to my own personal experience. I gained significant confidence when I got my saxophone, you know, kind of voice together, and I could really play music and be a cool guy. You know, I really found myself, and it allowed me then to really increase my ability to focus. And my grades were always pretty good, but it got better. You know, it got better, and my confidence as I moved through life was increased, and that made things significantly easier and better and more productive. I got a lot more done because, okay, I know what I'm doing. I feel like, okay, I know what I'm on the planet for, or at least I know something I'm good at, and I know I got my feet under me, and there's nothing else I can go to this for a lot of things. I can go to it for my own personal good feeling. I can go to it maybe for a career. Little bit I know I'd end up actually doing it for a career. I didn't expect that at age 15 or whatever, but it's, you know, it proved that it was possible, you know, that I could do that. And so I feel like that set of emotions and experiences is very beneficial for young people. And I feel like we at the camp, that's one of our big goals. We really go for that. We really go for what we can do to help the young people at the camp, or anybody at the camp for that matter, whatever age they are, help them find themselves, you know. And so we also have, in addition to the musical fundamentals, we also deal with some specific things, such as we actually have a boot camp that we run several weeks, like a morning exercise class. We do financial workshops. We do a college night there. We have other kinds of classes like songwriting classes and things that aren't necessarily focused on jazz per se, but things that are good for music, good for self-expression. we have other things too that are more jazz focused, like there's piano for non-pianists, and we have rhythm classes and Latin classes, Latin music classes, etc. But we do look for a broad a holistic approach. Let's say we look for a holistic approach to teaching jazz, because jazz, besides being a great music, it's also it's great for people because there's so many elements of strong humanity within jazz. You know, that's why all this works for me. It's one of the reasons I'm a jazz educator. I really don't expect to create, you know, a bunch of Charlie Parkers, but I think I can create, or I can participate, contribute to people who are smart, creative, certainly disciplined, which is one of those things that you have to be as a musician. Someone who learns how to listen, knows how to listen, huge, as I mentioned, first thing I mentioned about what we teach the kids, and listening in human contact is a critical thing, and a lot of people don't do it very well. So, you know, if you learn how to listen well, I think that translates to the human side of it.